As a supervisor and a member of professional standards, I'm ordering you not to discuss this allegation and or investigation with anyone other than your Toronto Police Association representative and or counsel. Any evidence of violating this order could be met with additional Police Services Act charges. They are in essence threatening me with additional reprisals and discipline if I don't stay silent.
Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
Well, folks, by all accounts, Toronto Police Detective-Constable Adrienne Gilvasey is a superb cop for the past 11 years. She's done a great job in terms of putting bad guys behind bars and keeping Hogtown safe for its law-abiding citizens. But now Adrienne herself is under investigation by the Toronto Police Service. Her alleged crime? Well, she attended last month's Freedom Rally at Queen's Park on her free time and out of uniform. And she spoke her mind in terms of what it's like to be an ethical member of law enforcement during the COVID-19 pandemic. And believe me, the powers that be were not amused. And joining me now is Adrienne Gilvasey herself. Hey there, how you doing, Adrienne?
Hey, David, thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. You know, Adrienne, first of all, I want to thank you for having the courage to be a member of law enforcement and to go out there and speak your mind. As far as I can tell, you did nothing wrong. You were out of uniform. You were on your own time. You were not on duty. What is the issue in terms of you appearing at that Freedom Rally?
I think what it was explained to me was the fact that because I have been out there in the media, I was recognizable to be a member of the Toronto Police Service, and therefore they believe that I was portraying myself as a Toronto Police officer.
And yet, I don't think you said anything that was, dishonorable. I think police officers like yourself, and I've spoken to many of them off the record because I guess, well, they don't want to go through what you're going through. Their message to me is tackling people who are peaceful protesters in the city square. This is not something they signed up for. And from what you said at the rally, I think you have a similar set of concerns, don't you?
Absolutely. I've spoken to many officers from across Canada over the last year and a half who share the same sentiments as I. They are afraid to speak out because of the repercussions and reprisals that come as a result of speaking out against this.
And Adrienne, did you, if we were to go back in time to September 18th, I believe was the date, would you still, knowing what's happened to you right now, would you still have attended that Freedom Rally? Would you still have spoken publicly?
Absolutely.
Okay, then. So to you, this is a matter of principle, and I really do applaud you for that. Adrienne, I'm wondering how many police officers share your opinion. I say this, I'll give you a personal anecdote. I was at a Adam Skelly press conference, no less, and outside, a lady approached me. She said she was the wife of a police officer. She recognized me, and she said at his division, 50% of the police officers are of the opinion, I did not sign up to curtail the rights and freedoms of my fellow citizens, whereas the other half, they believe they're doing God's work. They think this is, the idea of arresting people, hauling them off to jail is integral to curbing the pandemic. And she said it's created a very bad vibe in the division. I'm wondering, is that what you experienced when you were still in uniform?
So I've been working from home for the last year. So I have not been inside the station for a year based on my mask exemption. So I can't really speak to what people are saying in the station. What I have heard is that there is definitely a divide amongst the officers about the pandemic restrictions and mandates.
And, and I can only imagine the kind of tensions that are out there. Now, as it pertains to your case, It's still ongoing, the investigation, I understand, Adrian. What could be, I guess, the minimum penalty, and what could be the maximum?
So, ironically, David, today I was notified that from professional standards that I'll read it quote for quote what they said.
Okay.
As a supervisor and a member of professional standards, I'm ordering you not to discuss this allegation and or investigation with anyone other than your Toronto Police Association representative and or counsel. Any evidence of violating this order could be met with additional Police Services Act charges. They are in essence threatening me with additional reprisals and discipline if I don't stay silent.
Wow, so they're putting the gag order on you. I guess by way of this interview, you're already violating it.
Yes.
Are you concerned this might bring upon even further repercussions to you, Adrian?
Concerned to a certain degree, but this topic and defending freedoms is far more important than worrying about work reprisal at this point, David.
You know, it is so refreshing to speak with someone who has such a principled stance. I really do applaud you for that, Adrian. And I think the bigger picture here, too, pertaining to your case, is where is the line when it comes to a person being a member of an employed service versus their free time? I guess what I'm getting at is that, yes, you're a member of the Toronto Police Service. I'm a member of Rebel News, but we do go off the clock. We do have free time. We are in a democracy where we allegedly have freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of expression, freedom of assembly. Or is the new normal, Adrian, that your employer has control over you and your opinions 24/7?
It would appear in this quote unquote new normal that is the expectation. If you look at the doctors that are speaking out or the nurses that are speaking out, they're getting disciplined as well. Policing, you've always had procedures around not speaking out in uniform and things like that. But like I said, it's such an important topic that we need professionals to start discussing, that I'm willing to be the sacrificial lamb if I need to be.
Well, I hope that's not the end result. And of course, speaking out in uniform, I guess, is one thing, but let us reiterate. We go back to that day in September. You were out of uniform. You were not on duty. You were a free citizen, and you're being potentially punished. Again, Adrian, what could the ultimate penalty be? Could it actually be your dismissal from the Toronto Police Service?
I actually don't know, David, because this is the first time in my career where I have been investigated for something under the professional standards unit. If you look at the last 12 years in my personnel file, it's awards and accommodations. Not to toot my own horn, but I haven't been a problematic employee up until this point. I guess now they consider me a problematic employee.
Well, I don't think you're problematic at all, Adrian. I think you are upholding your oath. You should be applauded for that by your superiors. And, I can't help but think of the hypocrisy with the anti-lockdown protesters. We've been covering them for the last year and a half. In January, Yonge Dundas Square was declared a no-man's zone. You actually saw protesters, single protesters, not doing anything violent or disruptive, being gang tackled by police officers. I don't know who's giving the orders. And yet at that same square, we've seen pro-Hamas demonstrators assemble. We see pro-Tamil Tiger terrorist demonstrators assemble. And nothing to see here, folks. How in the world do you explain this?
That's not a question for me. That would be a question for whoever's calling the shots within the service. I agree with you, David, and I also agree that I am upholding my oath. In fact, as members of law enforcement, we are held to a higher standard in terms of following the laws. In my opinion, speaking out against that which is unlawful is my duty as a sworn peace officer. Failing to do that is neglect of duty in my eyes. And if upholding and following the laws of our province and country brings discredit upon my police service, then we have bigger issues upon us here.
Yeah, what weird times we live in today, Adrian. Tell me, your colleagues, have they reached out to you privately? Are they giving you words of support, or are you experiencing other kinds of feedback?
I'd say it's a mixed bag a little bit, but overall, the overwhelming majority of officers who have reached out to me, and it's from across Canada, David. It's not just local or provincial. It's across Canada. Have been extremely supportive and saying that they have my back. They agree with what I'm speaking about.
Well, Adrian, let's stay in touch. We want to see how this plays out. Everything I've heard about you indicates that you are an excellent police officer. I think the service is diminished without you if they go that route, if they, end your career because of, well, I don't even see what the crime was. You were speaking publicly out of uniform on your own time. I think this is ridiculous. I think it's shameful. I think it's egregious. Like I said, Adrian, please keep in touch with us. I want to see how this ends. Hopefully there is going to be a happy ending to your story.
Absolutely. I'll stay in touch. Thank you very much for your time, David.
Thank you so much, Adrian. Folks, can you imagine? Vaccine passports are a fact of life in Canada. Do you think that's right, to have medical apartheid? Well, I sure don't. If you can, please go to fightvaccinepassports.com. That's fightvaccinepassports.com. And if you're able to, kindly make a donation.